Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the latest episode of Musical Musings, airing every Wednesday at 1 p.m. We broadcast this program to you from Rajamangala University of Technology, Peranakan, and I will be bringing this program to you in two parts. For the first part, I will introduce an artist to you. We'll talk a little bit about them, and then I will introduce one of their songs to you. We'll talk about that song a little bit as well, and we will discuss its main themes, like what it is all about. Then, we will go ahead and listen to the song, and in the second half of our program, we will analyze the lyrics. We will take a look especially at anything that's difficult to understand, any difficult vocabulary, difficult slang, different idioms, anything like that that's maybe a little hard to understand. All right, so let's get to the show. Welcome, everyone. My name is Gary Gray, and I am your host for the Musical Musings program. I am an American English teacher here in Thailand, teaching at Rajamangala University of Technology, Peranakan, and I have been here for a little over 8 years teaching here at the university. So I've been here quite a long time. And one of the things I do like to do sometimes is incorporate some music into my classroom teaching. I do find that it can sometimes be helpful. If you're just teaching from your textbook, it's pretty good. You know, you teach the grammar, you teach the vocabulary, things like that. But sometimes our normal speaking is a little bit different than what you might get from a textbook. And so things like songs, movies, TV programs can really help with that side of things, like kind of your normal communication. And so I do like to include some music. And so that's why I am hosting this program for you. And so for today's episode, we are going to be doing the song Karma Chameleon by the band Culture Club. So first, a little bit about the band. They are from London. They formed in 1981. They were only together for about 5 years, broke up in 86, but then they did reunite a couple more times, and in fact, they've now been together for longer than they were their first time, because their last reunion was in, I believe, 2011, and they are still together today. They're very much known for their lead singer. His name is Boy George. He's very flamboyant. He dresses up in some crazy clothes and wears a lot of makeup. He's an interesting person because early in his career, he was very controversial. I don't want to say he did a lot of bad things because I don't actually remember anything bad that he did, but, you know, dressing up in makeup and things like that, and it was the 1980s. That wasn't very acceptable. Because he's a guy and dressing up in makeup and, you know, in Western culture, that wasn't acceptable in the 1980s. Even now, I mean, he still stands out a little bit because he's so crazy with his clothes and stuff like that. So he still, even today, stands out if you were to see him. But back then, it was really controversial. And what I say is interesting about him is he was always very defensive about that early in his career. And so he came off quite negative. I mean, his fans loved him, of course. They liked the music. They liked the fact that he was so wild and crazy. They liked that whole persona. They liked him. But, you know, most of the rest of the general public just really didn't like him. And the reason I say that's interesting is because over the years, he has really kind of changed his image. I mean, he still looks the same, still dresses the same, still wears the makeup. But really, if you see him in an interview or something like that, he comes across as actually a really nice guy. Seems like a nice person. So he's really changed his image a lot over the last, what is that going to be, about 40 years or so. And I think part of that might be personal issues. There were rumors, I don't know if they were true or not, but there were rumors that he had like substance abuse problems, things like that. And the band was only together for 5 years before the first time they split up, which does suggest that there are some problems. I don't know what that could be. Could be related to the issue I just mentioned. Maybe not. I don't know. But 5 years is not very long for a band to be together. As I said, they did get back together twice since then. And they're still together now. The last time they got back together was 2011, and they're still going. I don't know how much they still perform, since they're starting to get a little bit older now, since they've been around for so long. But from the records I could find, they are still performing. They're still together. So again, Boy George is the leader of the group. As far as what style of music they play, if you look it up, it's probably going to say something like new wave. I don't know. To me, it's just kind of pop, which is not really my favorite type of music, so I've never been a big fan of theirs, but I don't mind them. They're okay. I have no problem with them. And like I said, Boy George has kind of changed his image and seems like a really nice guy, so I have no problem with him. It's just not my favorite type of music. Okay. So the song we're doing is going to be Karma Chameleon. It came out in 1983, and it was actually number one in the U.S., so this was a very popular song. In fact, it was number one in a lot of different places. I'm pretty sure it was number one in the U.K. as well. So this is probably Culture Club's number one song ever. I didn't look that up to see how many... to see how long it was number one and check out their other songs to see where they ranked and for how long. And they do have at least one other song that I think might have come close to this. They have several other songs that are very popular, but they have one in particular that I think might have gotten close to this. But I think this was probably their top song. And the song, what it's about, is it's really about just trying to please everyone, make everyone happy. And so you kind of have to change the way you always are, depending on who you're interacting with. And that's where the name of the song comes from. Chameleon. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that animal, but a chameleon is a type of lizard, I want to say. Could be a reptile. Reptiles and lizards are kind of similar, but I think it's a lizard. A chameleon, I believe, is a type of lizard, and it changes its colors. It's kind of a defense mechanism, so it can fit in with the background. And so that's what this song's about. It's about changing how you are, changing whatever your opinions are, changing your looks, changing whatever it is you need to change in order to fit in with your surroundings. So that's what the song is about. I will tell you that some of the lyrics are a little tricky to understand. For example, just the very first line says, "Desert loving in your eyes all the way. If I listen to your lies, would you say? I'm a man without conviction, a man who doesn't know how to sell a contradiction." Okay, so the last few lines there, I understand, but the very first one, desert loving in your eyes all the way, I'm not sure what that really means. So some of these lyrics in this song are going to be a little bit tricky. There are definitely some things I can explain to you, and that's the point of this program, to explain things to you that are English words, English sayings, English slang, something like the word chameleon, like we just talked about. We do actually use that as a slang word in this way, like they're using it in the song. Someone who's changing all the time. We might call them a chameleon. And karma, the name of the song is Karma Chameleon. Karma means that if you do good things, you'll get back good things in your life. If you do bad things, you'll get bad things back in your life. So I think what they're suggesting here is that you shouldn't behave like this because of karma. Because obviously if you're being a chameleon, sometimes you're going to be doing bad things. You should just try to do the right thing all the time. Now, sometimes the right thing for one person is not the right thing for someone else, so that doesn't mean we all have to make the same decisions. But you should make the decision that you think is the best for you. And so I think that's why they named the song this. Again, it's a little hard to understand. Some of the lyrics are a little tricky. I do know it is about trying to be like a chameleon and trying to behave how everyone else around you wants you to behave or expects you to behave, trying to please everyone else. I do know it's about that in general. But as far as like the karma part, I'm kind of having to guess on what exactly that means. But I believe it's saying that that's not a good thing. You kind of see it in some of the lyrics, like right after it says karma, 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 chameleon. There's another line, but then it says loving you would be easy if your colors were like my dreams. Again, another line. I'm not exactly sure what it means, but if it's saying loving would be easy, it means it's not. So again, it's a bad thing. All right? Although it does say if your colors were like my dreams, so it's also kind of suggesting that the person singing the song would almost like it if they would change. You know, he wants their colors, which is the chameleon, changing colors. He would want their colors to match what's in their dreams. So they want the person they're talking to be like the person in their dreams. So, again, a little tricky to understand exactly what they're talking about with some of these lyrics. So we're going to focus more on any words that you may not understand, any slang that you might not understand, kind of like we did with the word chameleon, explaining what that means. All right, so again, the song is about pleasing everyone and not standing up for what you believe in, that sort of thing. Came out in 1983, probably Culture Club's #1 hit. And again, the name of it is Karma Chameleon. All right, so let's go ahead and get to the song. And as always, for those of you joining us via YouTube, because of copyright issues, we cannot embed the video. So you will see a link in the upper right-hand corner. Please click on that to get the video for this song. And then once that's over, you can just click on back over here for the second part of our program. Everyone else, if you're listening on radio or streaming, you should be able to listen just fine. All right, let's get to the song.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. So that is Karma Chameleon by Culture Club. And again, it's a song about trying to please everyone, changing how you are to satisfy the people around you. All right, so let's get to the lyrics here. There's kind of a lot, kind of not a lot. I have them all listed out in front of me to make sure I don't miss anything. And it is like a whole full page of lyrics here, but there's also quite a bit that repeats. We've got like the chorus and things like that. So let's get started here. So we start out, I mentioned in the first half of our program, this very first line is a little bit confusing. Desert loving in your eyes all the way. Not sure what that means, desert loving. Not sure what he means by that. Desert loving in your eyes all the way. If I listened to your lies, would you say, I'm a man without conviction. I'm a man who doesn't know how to sell a contradiction. Okay, so what he's saying here, after that first line, which is a little confusing to me, is that he's saying that while he is trying to please everyone, he's not very good at it. All right? So would you say I'm a man without conviction? Okay, a man without conviction. Conviction, what having conviction means is it means you believe in what you're saying. Now, he doesn't believe in what he's saying because he's just saying whatever it is to make someone else happy. So he has no convictions. And then he says he's a man who doesn't know how to sell a contradiction. So a contradiction means two things that don't make sense together. So again, he's talking about how he's going to say whatever he needs to say to the person he needs to say it to. And so those two things might be different. So he's contradicting himself. But it says he doesn't know how to sell a contradiction. So in other words, even other people don't really believe him. So once again, this gets back to something I said in the first half of our program, where I believe he's suggesting that this is not a good thing. And of course, that's probably the right message, because it really isn't a good thing. You should just be yourself. So I believe he's saying that this is not a good thing, because he's not even good at it. Okay, we continue on. You come and go, you come and go. Comma, chameleon, you come and go, you come and go. So when he talks about you come and go, I think this, again, it's a little hard to understand here what he means there, but it may just be because he's changing so much that this person he's talking to, which you can assume would be his boyfriend or his girlfriend, I believe if you're doing this from the point of Boy George, I believe he's gay, so you'd probably be talking about his boyfriend. So I believe the boyfriend is coming in and out of his life because his boyfriend doesn't know what he thinks, what he's doing, what's going on, so he doesn't stay with him. He comes and goes and comes and goes. All right, we continue on. Loving would be easy if your colors were like my dreams. So now he's saying that this other person should change. Again, not really good. But now, the way he represented it for himself was that it wasn't good, but now he seems to be suggesting that his boyfriend or girlfriend should change. Although, is he really saying they should change, or is he just saying that would make it easier? Because it just says loving would be easy if your colors were like my dreams. Okay, so again, I already explained that line to you, but let me explain it again. Your colors, again, we're talking about a chameleon. A chameleon changes colors. So what he's saying is to love that person would be a lot easier if they would change to be like the person of their dreams. Okay, red, gold, and green, red, gold, and green. Okay, I think that's just colors, just to make it rhyme. Green with dreams. All right, so we continue on. Didn't hear your wicked words every day, and you used to be so sweet. I heard you say that my love was an addiction. When we cling, our love is strong. When you go, you're gone forever. You string along, you string along. Okay, so what does all that mean? All right, so didn't hear your wicked words every day, and you used to be so sweet. Okay, so apparently if he's saying he didn't hear his wicked words every day, it sounds like he is hearing them now. So this partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is probably not with him now and says bad things about them. And he's saying, you used to be so sweet. Now I hear you say that my love was an addiction. In other words, it wasn't like true love. It was some sort of emotional thing where you couldn't get away from it, but not really love. And when we cling, our love is strong. So when they're together, clinging means to hold on to something. So when they hold on to each other, they do feel that love. But when he goes, it says when you go, you're gone forever. So when he goes, that's it. But then it says you string along, which is a little weird because it doesn't make sense with the previous words. To string someone along means that you kind of make them feel like the relationship is possible, but you resist getting into it because you're not really sure. So you're stringing them along. You're giving them hope, but you're not actually doing it. You're not actually committing. You're not getting into a relationship. And so it's interesting because he says you string along, right after the line where it says, when you go, you're gone forever. So once again, not entirely clear what it means, but the fact that they mean two different things might exactly be the point. Because we're talking about a chameleon. No convictions. Contradictions. We saw that in the first verse. Maybe the point. Okay, so then we have the chorus again. Karma, chameleon. You come and go. Loving you would be easy if your colors were like my dreams. Red, gold, and green, red, gold, and green. Okay. And now we get the last verse. Every day is like survival. You're my lover, not my rival. Every day is like survivor. You're my lover, not my rival. I'm a man without conviction. I'm a man who doesn't know how to sell a contradiction. So we see that line again from the first verse. So really all we have here, and we actually repeat two of these lines here, every day is like survival, you're my lover, not my rival. So we really only have two new lines here for this third verse, and that's it. Every day is like survival, you're my lover, not my rival. So once again, this seems like a contradiction. The whole song kind of is. Why is this a contradiction? Okay, so in English, when you say every day is like survival, it means you're just trying to survive. In other words, life is very difficult. You're not really living for anything. You don't have any dreams. You don't have any goals. You don't have any plans. You're just trying to get through the day. You're just trying to survive. But then it says you're my lover, not my rival. Now, I guess you could interpret that negatively, because why does he have to say not my rival? A rival means like a competitor, someone you're fighting against. So I guess you could view that negatively and say that that's something you shouldn't have to point out with your partner, right? That you're not your rival. But personally, I still interpret this line positively because he is saying that you're my lover. Okay? So once again, we have this contradiction here. Every day is like survival. You're my lover, not my rival. And it feels like he can't decide whether he's his lover or his rival. Although he is saying it's his lover. So, again, I think it's supposed to be positive. But maybe there's some confusion there. And then we do get those lines where it talks about the contradiction. It says, I'm a man without conviction, a man who doesn't know how to sell a contradiction. And again, if you have no convictions, it means you don't really have a strong belief in something. So he doesn't have really strong feelings. And he doesn't know how to sell a contradiction. So his different ways of acting, it seems like people understand that he's not being honest. He's not being genuine because he's not selling it. When we're talking about selling it, when we're talking about how you're behaving or something like that, we don't mean actually selling something, like no one's paying you for something. What we mean by selling it, like to sell the contradiction, is it means getting people to believe it. So people don't believe that he is what he pretends to be. Okay? And so that's really the end of the song, because then we just repeat the chorus a few times. Karma, 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 chameleon. You come and go, you come and go. We repeat that a few times, and that's it. That's the end of the song. Okay, so that's Karma Chameleon by Culture Club. And again, those lyrics were a little bit confusing. So you may wonder why I picked this song, because it's a little bit, wasn't too much to talk about. Not a lot of slang. Using the word chameleon is kind of slang. Not too many hard words. We did have to talk about conviction, contradiction. There were a few words to talk about there. About stringing someone along, what that means. A few things to talk about, but not so much. So why did I even pick this song? Honestly, we've done so many bands now, so many artists. We are on week 122 here this week, as we film this in August of 2025. We've done so many groups that there aren't a lot of really popular groups left for me to do. I mean, I shouldn't say there aren't a lot. Obviously, 122 weeks. We've done a few groups more than once. These are the weeks since we've been on the air, and we have missed a few weeks along the way. We've done groups back into the 1950s. Obviously, there's more than 100 or so groups we can do. So there's still plenty more, especially some of the older ones, 1950s, 1960s, plenty more groups we can do. But I do really like the 1970s and 80s groups, and so I don't want to say we're running out. There's still quite a few we can do, but we're sort of starting to run out a little bit. So this is a group we haven't done. I wanted to do this group. And this is my favorite song by them. So, we're doing this song. Even though it's not one of the more in-depth songs that we could do as far as English language. There's not too much here. There was a little bit, like I said, a little bit here. Especially the very name of the song, Chameleon, Karma Chameleon. Chameleon, and what that means in English slang is kind of a good word to use. So there was a little bit, but not too much in this song. So, we just picked it because I wanted to do this group. We have not done them, and this is my favorite song by them. All right, so again, the name of that group was Culture Club. And if you're looking for other songs by them, there are a lot. I believe they had 6 that made the Billboard Top 100. But honestly, because they're not my favorite group, my favorite style of music, when I look at their top songs, as much into music as I am, I honestly don't even know a couple of them. But the ones I do know, the ones that stood out to me that I definitely know, aside from Karma Chameleon, are Do You Really Want to Hurt Me, Time, and I'll Tumble For You. I really don't like that last one, but it was really popular, and I don't want to impress my opinion on you. It was popular, so apparently a lot of other people liked it, so I'll Tumble For You. Go ahead, listen to it. I think their second most famous song, though, was probably Do You Really Want to Hurt Me? And that might have been close to Karma Chameleon. You remember in the first part of the program I said there was one other song that might be their top song? Might have been more popular than Karma Chameleon? That would be Do You Really Want to Hurt Me? I do think Karma Chameleon was more popular, but I am not sure about that. I mean, in order to be more popular, Do You Really Want to Hurt Me had to have gotten to number 1 and stayed there longer, because Karma Chameleon did get to number 1. So I do think the song we did today is their most popular, but Do You Really Want to Hurt Me is also very popular. So if you're looking to check out some of their music, that is the first one I would advise you to go check out. Okay, So that was Karma Chameleon by Culture Club. Okay. Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Musical Musings. Any young people out there who are getting ready to head on to university, I recommend you check us out here at Rajamacon University of Technology, Peranakan. We've got a pretty good program here. It's a nice university, right in the old part of Bangkok. Check us out. Also, please stay with us and make sure you tune back in next week for another great song. Also, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
Musical